Hi, I'm Bob,
And I'm Sherry.
and this is Mostly Politics with Bob and Sherry.
This would be a very short segment. We're going to talk about my experience being asked to go observe the sorting of the provisional ballot yesterday and representing actually Dr. Oz team.
So, Sherry, you went to the Allegheny County location where they were sorting provisional ballots?
Yes. So I got a call, was it yesterday, Monday? So I got a call on Sunday asking me to go to help go down and observe the sorting of the provisional ballot.
Mm-hmm.
The gentleman that asked me and said he understand I did not vote for us, but he feels there's still some representation should be down there because the team McCormick has a lot of people down there
Okay.
representing them. And he was having a hard time finding volunteers.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so you went down to balance things out. What did you observe?
So it was very interesting. We went to a big warehouse in the North Shore, and everybody giving a badge. You have to be on the list to go in. You go through a metal detector. It's just a big warehouse with lots and lots of mail. You cannot move around the warehouse. Someone from the Allegheny County election office has to be with you at all times. Even when you get up to go to the bathroom, they're outside waiting for you and then to walk you back to your assigned desk.
Okay. And what kinds of things were you verifying? What did they show you? What were you?
So apparently when you go there, though, every desk only allow one representative per team. So I happen to be sitting next to a young attorney called Nick who practiced election law and labor law.
And he was representing
McCormick.
McCormick.
Yeah.
Okay.
So on the McCormick side, there was, I believe there was three, four attorneys and some political consultants.
Okay.
On the Oz side, it was four people. It was one attorney, I believe one political consultant, and a couple of volunteers, and
Mm-hmm.
that's it. So I was there for the morning shift.
Okay.
Yeah. And then what happens is you sit at a desk like this, and like you and I was sitting, and then across from us is the employee from the Allegheny County election office.
Okay.
And then they have bins and bins of provisional ballot. And so they will bring a bin on, and these provisional ballot will be on a big yellow manila envelope. And in front of it is a spreadsheet. So the spreadsheet will have the person's name, the date of birth, what party they registered, and what party they voted for. So if everything checked out, so the Allegheny County office did the homework prior to we coming to look at the ballot. So essentially what they do, they put a big manila envelope on the table,
Mm-hmm.
and they would say this person voted Democrat, registered Democrat. Okay, this is a full ballot. It will be counted. Or this person is a Republican, voted Republican. This is full ballot. This will be counted. So our job is to look at that spreadsheet to make sure that checked out. And if you want to challenge or appeal, you can look at the name and everything and appeal it. So that was the process.
So the envelopes have a number of ballots, and then there's a spreadsheet outlining what's in there.
Right.
Do you actually see the ballot?
Well, there's a couple times we did ask to see the ballot. The reason why is when you have people that maybe registered on the spreadsheet would say registered Democrat, voter Republican. Those ballot gets tossed. Or if they're registered, if they're
Because it's a
independent,
primary.
because it's a primary.
Right.
And you will be surprised how many people voted the wrong party.
Hmm.
And then also, if somebody say NF, that's non-affiliated, and they voted. So because we're there to look at the Republican ballot, we would require and say, okay, can we take a look what happens? But they will open the so inside the manila envelope, there's a bigger envelope which have your name, registration, your signatures and date. That all has to be in place. There's a many ballot got tossed because people did not sign it. There was one particular one we looked at it. There was no ballot inside, which I don't know how that happened because the provisional ballot is being filled at the polling station. And there was one particular example. The the registrar from the Allegheny County had the person's name, but did not have the registered party and did not have who they voted. So the Allegheny County election officer took me, we walked to a machine they call a Shore system. They would type in this person's name on, check all the information, making sure it's correct, and they would give you whether they're registered Democrat or Republican. So that we didn't care about that one. Again, it's not a Democrat primary. So that was the process we went through. I think there was a couple we required to look at the ballot, which they take the secret envelope up, but they don't show you the full ballot.
Okay.
They only look at the top. If it's a red line, it's Republican. If it's a blue line, it's Democrat.
Okay, so based on this spreadsheet, you decide if you want to challenge something.
Right.
And then they show you the sealed envelope. Now, does the voter fill out the information on the sealed envelope? Their name, their party?
The outside envelope.
The outside
they
envelope.
they don't say their party. I believe they just say there's like provisional, so you have your name, your address, your email, and then there's a reason why
You're doing provisional.
you're doing provisional.
Okay.
And you will be amazed how many people do not check those boxes.
Okay.
And then
So then, if after seeing that, they will open the envelope and show you the actual ballot, but not what the people voted. Who the
yeah,
people
you
voted.
just see a top line. You don't
Okay.
see the actual ballot. You're not allowed, no side can see who these people voted for.
Okay.
So you only say, okay, that Republican ballot will be counted. So whether McCormick side or the outside, do not, even those ballots will be counted. They do not know who voted for who. And also I heard down there, which is hearsay, they said there was 218 mail-in ballots were not counted. No, we're not dated because the argument right now is McCormick sues and won the undated ballot to be counted, which right now the Pennsylvania GOP and also the RNC are fighting against McCormick because you cannot count undated mail-in ballots.
Is that a law? There's a law about undated?
No, I'm not an attorney,
Okay.
but according to the GOP,
It is.
it is the law.
Okay.
That
So there may be a court challenge over that.
that
piece.
may be a court challenge. And also, I personally was amazed how many people voted for the wrong party. And when I left, I called a friend of mine who was working in the polling station in the North Hills. I said, "My goodness, doesn't people understand as a primary? And if you're independent, you cannot vote in the primary because I have seen a lot of the ballots that people are independent but voted for one of the parties." And she said apparently in her polling station there was one gentleman came in who is an independent but was screaming and yelling and was really upset he cannot vote. So they just want to hand him a ballot.
So they say, go for it, vote. He walks away happy, but it doesn't count anyway.
It doesn't count. And another thing I think is really important, and I mentioned that in my live stream yesterday, like after looking at this, if you want to change your party affiliation, you must do it before the deadline. Because if you don't do it before the deadline, if you decide, okay, primary is on the 17th, I'm changing my party registration on May 15th or May 3rd. Well, that new party registration is only good for the next election, is no longer good.
Because it's past the deadline.
It's past the deadline. Another important thing, I remember this clearly because there's only one ballot that really stood up for me, is the provisional ballot did not get counted because apparently when the people was double checking these provisional ballot and the county, this particular person have already mailed in their ballot. So what the Allegheny County official tell us is what happens is when you type somebody's name in, for example, if you type my name in, if I already mail in a ballot, now I'm filling out a provisional ballot, a red flag would come on.
Okay.
So your provisional ballot do not get counted.
Okay, so you automatically, if you mail in a ballot, you can't sort of change your mind and then vote provisional because they'll throw out the provisional.
They'll throw out the provisional. So well, that made me feel like maybe this person thought of one thing when they filled out the mail-in ballot, and then as more and more information come out, maybe they've changed their mind. But you can't change. Apparently, you can't.
So And just for everyone's information, a provisional ballot then is anything out of the, if you go to the polling place and there's any issue with you being able to vote, they'll give you a provisional ballot. So if you're shown as a registered Democrat, but you're trying to vote into a Republican primary and you insist on voting, they'll give you a provisional ballot.
Yeah, well, so I remember when I worked the polling station, people came in to get provisional ballot. Here's few scenarios.
Okay.
Number one, people come in and they say, well, we can't find your name.
Right. They have
You
the
know,
books and
yeah, we
okay.
can't find your name. And I remember a person said, well, I've been coming to here to vote for years, so here's a provisional ballot for you.
Got it.
And then if somebody come in and said, well, I never received a mail-in ballot, and here's a provisional ballot. So any person come into a polling station, we can't find the name, or if they would come in and say, I have my mail-in ballot in my hand, and I did not mail it in. So now you get a provisional ballot. So what we essentially have to do, have to scratch the mail-in ballot, put the mail-in ballot in a separate envelope,
Okay.
and mark it so we know they did not mail it in. So that's what the provisional ballot was all about. And I remember, and in one of the scenario in one of the downtown polling station, there was literally 20 some provisional ballots, and that was a lot. So some polling station only had one or two, but all together Allegheny County was about 1,800, I believe, 1,834 provisional ballots that, both team want to go through.
And right now the spread is what, 1,000 votes between the two, or
According to the attorneys, it was less than 1,000.
less than 1,000. You have 1,800 provisional ballots that are a little bit of a mess question.
And I heard
They're more complicated.
more complicated. And then I also understand. So Allegheny County is doing what we're doing yesterday, Montgomery and Philadelphia.
Okay.
So all three counties are doing this.
Is this why the count's taking so long? Is it the provisional? Because people have criticized Pennsylvania. Why can't they have all the votes counted by now? Is it really provisional, or are there other votes that still haven't counted?
Apparently, every election provisional ballot do get counted.
Okay.
But oftentimes what happens is when the gap is big enough, you can pretty much secure the winner. Then they declare the winner before the provisional ballot actually counted. But provisional ballot do get
Gotcha.
counted. They just take a little bit more
With a big enough
time.
spread, you can declare a winner even though all the votes aren't counted yet.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Yep.
And then according to the Oz team, they told me you can pretty much count on a recount because the gap is less than 0.5 at this point.
Okay.
So they expect a recount in the beginning of June, between June 1st and June 7th. That's what I was told. Also, one very interesting thing is that on the Oz team, they have a couple of political consultants that seem very experienced with the Pennsylvania politics. And they also have an attorney. And the attorney was joking around, said, why didn't they hire me before, but they hired me after a problem issue happened? And one of the political consultants said, the problem is both these candidates, McCormick and Oz, did not run a grassroots campaign. And this is what happened when you don't run a grassroots campaign and you depending on the ads. And that's why you have Kathy Barnett took a lot of votes because she ran a grassroots campaign, and they were joking about how much cheaper it would have been for McCormick and us. So I thought that was very interesting what they were talking about.
So the definition of they came out of nowhere probably means they ran a grassroots campaign. Right? And they were successful at it. Because they worked with the people and they moved up, and suddenly the people at the top said, where'd you come from?
Right, exactly. So I just thought it was very interesting to go down there actually observing. And yes, and I have to say on the McCormick side, it was very well organized. They had 3-4 attorneys down there. They had a packet they handed to all the people that were supposed to sit there and observe. On the Oz side, not so much.
Okay.
The fact that I was called. Well, the guys told me that called me and said, we want someone objective. We don't want somebody to get emotional. You're not there to challenge anything. You're just there to observe. I said, okay, fine. I got not. I mean, I don't have a dog in
Okay.
the race.
Yeah. Well, but part of the job was challenging, right? You were the one that said, "I challenge. I don't know. I want to see this one," but not to.
On my table, the attorney I'm sitting with, we are fairly civil and agreeable.
Yeah.
And then now there's a
Did
table.
you hear other tables?
Yes.
Oh,
There was another table, and the two people had quite a few disagreement. Really, it was only over 3 ballots afterwards, and I thought, oh my goodness, for 3 ballots, this is really getting close. So, all in all, though, I was very honored to be asked, and then it was a great experience, and that's why I felt compelled to talk about it on our show, because not too many people have gone through this, experienced this, and my impression of that is a pretty fair sorting process, because what they would do, they would say, okay, this box is everything that's not to be counted, this box is everything to be counted, and then also there was partial count. So if you live in Ross Township, you voted in McKinless, your ticket would be partially counted, because you're supposed to vote in your local precinct.
okay.
If you voted in a separate precinct,
So as long as you didn't vote twice or something, they would still count it.
they would still call the partial counting, which is governor, senator,
Oh, okay.
congressional, but not so
Not
much
for that district.
not for that district.
Okay.
So
great.
that is something I hope that people are aware of. So my thoughts of this is, make sure you check your registration before the deadline. Make sure you know whether it's a primary or general, and absolutely make sure you vote in your own precinct. Oh, one more thing. If you register in the Butler County, you vote in Allegheny County, your vote is not counted
Okay.
completely.
All right. Well, thanks, Sherry. Thanks for all that.
Okay. Thank you.